I am super late to the Pathaan train, but now that I've finally watched Pathaan, I want to talk about it. First of all, did I like it? Yes, I did. I had a very good time. It's a shame that I did not see it in theaters, but I still had a great time watching it. It's Shah Rukh Khan's return to the big screen as the leading man, and I do think that this movie is a perfect comeback, but nowhere near a perfect movie, but that's okay. It's great to see him back in an avatar that he knows he can perform best. And SRK really is in terrific form here. He knows exactly what is demanded from him and delivers it with certain ease. He can be the charismatic action hero while also being vulnerable. The performances are all serviceable. Deepika Padukone is stunning while also holding off on her own, and John Abraham gives a good performance as the villain, getting the right balance of being sympathetic while also being charismatically evil. He isn't afraid to get his hands dirty and has a bloody good time doing it. But Pathaan is an out and out action entertainer, so how is it in terms of the action? Well, I'd say it's good, but there was room for improvement. Is it the choreography? Not at all, actually, as it almost always is. It's mostly regarding the editing and just how choppy it is. If you look at these scenes, just notice how many cuts are there. One shot barely even lasts a second, and this is in no way me criticizing the use of quick cuts. It can be done effectively, especially in action sequences. But my problem with it here is disorientation. Rarely do I get to really feel the impact the scene wants me to feel. There are some really cool moments in between where the filmmaking gets creative, but otherwise, everything happens so quickly that by the time I'm processing a certain beat, five other action beats would have already taken place. Quick cuts can quicken the pace of the action or serve many other purposes when used creatively, but I think that here it was probably used to hide the shots where the stuntman or woman were the ones performing the scenes. But because you're watching like 50 cuts happen in front of you within such a short span of time, the one time a shot goes on for even 2 seconds or longer feels like a breath of fresh air where you actually get to relax and process the information on screen at your own time. It bothers me because there are some great stunts being performed, but those stunts aren't given their due justice because the editing cuts and chops it all up into multiple pieces, never letting me truly savor the meal in its entirety. Plus, I literally just rewatched all the John Wick films, and so I've seen my fair share of how to execute action excellently. I am not asking Pathaan to be John Wick, but it can learn the right lessons from the many great action films out there. The John Wick films have comparatively fewer cuts, but whenever it does cut, it never once takes you out of the action. You are so immersed in the scene itself that you barely even realize a cut happened. But here, its increased frequency took me out of the scene multiple times. That is why there was one moment of action that I loved, and it was when the train action scene began. The camera follows the action, doesn't cut, lets the scene breathe, and lets you feel the impact of every punch and kick. I wish the film followed this principle throughout. There clearly is a lot of ambition here, considering there's a train action sequence, an action sequence on top of a truck, and a heist that involves planes. There is no shortage of vision here, but sometimes even the mildly lackluster CGI bogs it down a little. I think because of that as well, there are multiple cuts to sometimes hide the jarring effects. Look, I am not expecting this film to be a masterpiece or anything. Far from it. The plot of the film is like any James Bond or Mission Impossible film. John Abraham's character, Jim, as the villain, was pretty good. He had a sympathetic motivation as to why he was doing what he was doing. He felt betrayed by his own country, which he fought for. He works because he is the perfect antagonist to Pathaan. Pathaan is someone who loves his country, and Jim is someone who used to love his country. But his circumstances were different, and so now he holds an ideology opposite to Pathaan's. That makes for some solid ideological conflict. But I wish they did a little more with it. They could have furthered this conflict by giving Pathaan a possible character arc. It could have been like Black Panther, where the film acknowledges that Killmonger's actions are wrong, but he does have a point, and that fuels T'Challa's character arc. They could have done that for Pathaan as well, but the film ends on an odd note where Pathaan says that you should never question what your country has done for you. It still portrays Jim's perspective as entirely in the wrong, whereas the film had spent time giving him an understandable motivation. It sets up room for greater ideological conflict and internal change in the protagonist's beliefs, but then sort of doesn't do much with it. The songs are pretty good. I don't love Besharam Rang and Jhume Jo Pathaan, but they are pretty serviceable songs that I find myself humming from time to time. Even the individual themes of Pathaan and Jim are pretty well done. Speaking of which, I liked their dynamic in the film as well. The hero-villain dynamic is set up pretty early on, and it carries on throughout the rest of the film. I like the fact that they probably would have been friends in a different universe if their circumstances were different. Jim's ruthlessness challenges Pathaan in various ways, but Pathaan still proves to be someone with a lot of wit. This makes for two interesting characters who are against each other. Because character Rubai is also somewhat interesting with a brief flashback of her traumatic past, but I wish there was a little more exploration of her character. Pathaan isn't a great film and I did not love it, but your thoughts towards the film can also come from your expectations for it. All I was looking for from Pathaan was some good action, good songs, and some good looking people looking cool on screen. And on those fronts, it delivered, in my opinion. And although I personally do think that Siddharth Anand's previous film War is a much superior film in terms of its characterization, music, and especially in its action sequences, where you could see the action in its entirety, beautifully choreographed and presented in such a way as if it's almost a balletic dance. But Pathaan isn't a bad addition to the now declared YRS spy universe. I'm really glad that Pathaan was super successful and brought many audiences back to theatres, giving hope to many other filmmakers that their films too could be seen in the cinema hall. In terms of the actual quality of the film, it's good, but nothing special or unique. After all of SRK's supposed failed experiments, he returned to something safe and familiar, and it worked. So maybe that reveals to us more about ourselves. But Pathaan knows exactly what it is. It's a well-made piece of entertainment that's supposed to give us a good time. And well, it sure as hell delivered, without a doubt. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are on Pathaan. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, comment, you know the drill. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.